The broken ship captain Marcus Thorne stared at the distress beacon flickering on his tactical display. The Resolute drifted through the neutral zone's edge, officially conducting deep space mineral surveys. Unofficially, they were humanity's eyes and ears in a galaxy that barely tolerated their presence. "Proximity alert, Captain," announced Lieutenant Zara Voss from the sensor station. "Unidentified vessel, bearing 27 Mark IV. She's barely holding together." The main screen resolved the image, a twisted mass of biometal and failing energy conduits. Varellan construction, unmistakable in its organic curves. The ship looked like a dying creature, hull breached in dozen places, atmosphere bleeding into space. "Galactic Council protocols are clear," reminded Chief Navigator Dmitry Kozlov, his Russian accent thick with disapproval. "Varellan vessels in neutral space are to be reported and destroyed. Contamination risk." Thorne's jaw tightened. He'd seen the report centuries of war and genetic manipulation had supposedly reduced the once mighty Varellans to shambling shadows. Most species considered them diseased, mentally deficient. The hegemony had classified them as evolutionary dead ends. "Sir," Voss continued, "I'm reading 47 life signs. Weak, but stable. They're broadcasting on emergency frequencies, asking for sanctuary." Dr. Rebecca Kane stepped onto the bridge, her xenobiology credentials giving her authority in first contact situations. "The Caltheran Empire announced a bounty yesterday. Any Varellan ships found will be processed for biological samples. Apparently, their neural tissue still has research value." "Research value," Thorne repeated bitterly. "They're talking about live dissection." The communications officer, Ensign Tyler Park, looked up nervously. "Captain, we're receiving multiple signals. The hegemony, Caltheran Empire, even the Zephyrian Collective. They're all dispatching ships to this sector. Estimated arrival, 6 hours." Thorne studied the dying Varellan ship. Standard procedure demanded he report the sighting and withdraw. Let the powers that be handle it. But something in the way, the ship's distress beacon pulsed disparate, yet maintaining perfect mathematical intervals, made him pause. "Dr. Kane, what do you know about Varellan cognitive patterns?" "The standard data suggests severe neurological degradation, but ... She hesitated. "Some of my colleagues theorized the degradation might be protective rather than destructive. A shell, hiding something underneath. Hiding what? No one knows. No one's tried to find out in 3 centuries. Thorne made his decision. "Voss, lock onto their ship with tractor beams. Park, send a message to the Varellans. We're bringing them aboard. Kozlov, prepare the isolation bays. Full quarantine protocols." "Sir," Kozlov protested, "this violates direct orders from Central Command." "Then we'll deal with the consequences later." Thorne's eyes never left the screen. Sometimes doing what's right means ignoring what's legal. The hidden truth of Varellan refugees huddled in the Resolute's quarantine bay. 47 beings that barely resembled their species' ancient glory. Their once golden skin had faded to pale amber, their limbs thin and trembling. Most kept their large, clouded eyes downcast, communicating in soft, barely audible clicks. Dr. Kane worked alongside xenopsychologist Dr. James Holloway, running non-invasive scans. The readings puzzled them both. "Their brain activity is strange," Kane murmured, adjusting her neural scanner. "It's not degraded, it's layered, like multiple consciousness patterns running simultaneously. The Galactic Medical Database lists them as having severe cognitive impairment," Holloway noted, reviewing his tablet. "Average IQ, equivalent to human children. But these neural pathways ... double quotes." He paused, zooming in on the data. "They're incredibly complex, more sophisticated than anything I've seen." One Varellan, slightly larger than the others, approached them slowly. Unlike his companions, he maintained eye contact. I am Cathnarl. We speak gratitude for sanctuary. His words came haltingly, as if each syllable required enormous effort. But Kane noticed something odd. His pupils dilated in perfect mathematical sequences during speech, and his fingers tapped against his leg in what looked like complex calculations. Cathnarl, Kane said gently, may I ask, are you in pain? Your people seem troubled. Not pain. Sleep. Long sleep. Safe sleep. His head tilted oddly. But you humans, you are different. Dangerous safe. Dangerous to those who hurt. Safe for those who remember. Holloway exchanged glances with Kane. Remember what? Cathnarl's expression shifted, and for a moment his clouded eyes seemed to clear entirely. What we were, what we can be, what we saw. Then the clarity vanished, leaving him trembling. But sleeping is safer. Waking brings attention. Before either doctor could respond, alarms echoed through the ship. Captain Thorne's voice crackled over the intercom. All hands to stations. We have company hegemony destroyers, Calthran battlecruisers, and something I've never seen before. They're demanding we turn over our cargo. Kane looked at the readings again, her mind racing. The neural patterns weren't random, they were encrypted. The virulence weren't broken. They were hidden, protecting something so valuable that 3 major powers were converging on a single human research vessel. Cathnarl, she whispered urgently, what are you really hiding? His reply came in a voice suddenly clear and precise. The ability to see tomorrow, Dr. Kane. To calculate probability cascades 17 steps into the future. To predict the exact movement of every star, every ship, every decision in this sector. His eyes focused with laser intensity. We are the galaxy's greatest strategic asset, disguised as its greatest failure. The ship shuddered as weapons locked onto their hull. And now, Cathnarl continued, they want us back. The awakening protocol, the bridge, erupted in controlled chaos as 3 separate fleets converged on the Resolute. Captain Thorne watched the tactical display with grim fascination. 67 warships surrounding 1 human research vessel, yet none fired. They're afraid of damaging their prize, Commander Natasha Reeves observed from the weapons station. The Varellans are too valuable to risk in crossfire. Sir, Lieutenant Voss reported, incoming transmission from the Hegemony flagship. Admiral, Victor demands immediate surrender of stolen biological assets. Thorne opened the channel. The holographic projection of a 7-foot reptilian figure materialized, scales gleaming with augmented armor plating. Human captain, you interfere in matters beyond your comprehension. Surrender the Varellans, and your death will be swift. Counterproposal, Thorne replied evenly. You withdraw, and I won't broadcast to the entire galaxy what you really want them for. Vector's eyes narrowed. You know nothing. I know you're terrified of what they can do. All of you. The transmission cut abruptly. Moments later, Dr. Kane's voice echoed from the quarantine bay. Captain, you need to see this immediately. Thorne found Kane and Holloway surrounded by active holographic displays showing probability matrices that hurt to look at directly. Cathnarl stood at the center, his entire posture transformed. The shambling, frightened creature was gone, replaced by a being radiating quiet authority. The encryption is breaking down, Kane explained breathlessly. The stress of capture triggered some kind of awakening protocol. Cathnarl isn't just predicting outcomes. He's showing us the exact probability of success for every possible action. The displays shifted, showing potential battle scenarios. In each simulation, the Resolute was destroyed, the Varellans captured, but one thread glowed differently. There, Cathnarl said, pointing to a complex maneuver sequence. 17% survival probability. But it requires perfect timing, and he paused, his expression troubled. Sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? Thorn demanded. I must fully awaken, drop all mental barriers. But once I do, every Virelin in the galaxy will feel it through our quantum-linked consciousness. They'll know their true nature is discovered. Holloway looked up from his readings. Captain, if the Virelins have been hiding predictive abilities for centuries, and they're all mentally linked ... They're not just individuals, Thorn realized. They're components of a galaxy-spanning intelligence. Network. Keth-Nyril nodded gravely. We became worthless to survive. But if I awaken now, there will be no more hiding. Every major power will hunt us to extinction or enslave us completely. Another alarm sounded. Captain, Voss called over the intercom. The fleets are moving into attack formation. They've decided to risk the crossfire. Thorn looked at the probability displays, then at Keth-Nyril. What happens if you don't awaken? You die in 4 minutes, 37 seconds. We are captured. Our people remain hidden, but enslaved to whoever claims us. And if you do awaken? 17% chance we all survive. 83% chance the Virelin species faces complete extermination within 1 galactic standard year. The ship shuddered as warning shots bracketed their hull. Thorns. Decision was instant. Do it. The network awakens. The moment Keth-Nyril opened his mind fully, reality seemed to fracture around the Resolute. The Virelin's eyes blazed with golden light as centuries of suppressed neural patterns exploded into consciousness. Every display on the ship flickered with cascading probability matrices, showing futures branching and converging in infinite complexity. Systems overload, shouted Chief Engineer Patricia Morgan from her station. Whatever he's doing is interfacing with our computers directly. But Captain Thorn watched in fascination as the chaos resolved into perfect clarity. The tactical display now showed not just current positions, but the exact location every enemy ship would occupy for the next 17 minutes. Flight paths, weapon trajectories, even communication delays, all mapped with mathematical precision. My God, whispered Dr. Kane, monitoring Keth-Nyril's vitals. His brain activity has increased by 3,000%. He's processing quantum calculations, faster than our II core. Across the quarantine bay, the other Virelins were changing too. Their clouded eyes cleared, their postures straightened. They began moving in perfect synchronization, like instruments in an orchestra responding to a master conductor. Captain, Keth-Nyril spoke, his voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in multiple dimensions. I can see every possible outcome, but the awakening is spreading. Every Virelin on every world, every ship, every hidden colony, there, all waking up simultaneously. Lieutenant Voss's voice cracked with urgency. Sir, we're receiving reports from across known space. Virelin populations on 17 worlds have suddenly begun exhibiting massive neural activity. The hegemony is mobilizing their entire fleet. Commander Reeves studied the tactical projections. These calculations? They're showing us exactly how to slip through their formation. But the window is only 14 seconds wide. Then we use 14 seconds, Thorn decided. Morgan, can you give me emergency power to engines on my mark? Aye, sir. But one more thing, I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies building throughout the sector. Something's causing space-time fluctuations. Keth-Nyril's expression grew troubled. The network's full activation is destabilizing local quantum fields. We are not meant to operate at this level for extended periods. Dr. Holloway looked up from his readings. The other Virelins, they're not just receiving data, they're transmitting it. Each one is sharing their local observations with the entire network. It's like they're creating a real-time map of the entire galaxy. which is exactly what every government fears most, Thorne realized. A species that knows everything happening everywhere, all at once. The enemy fleets began their final approach. Vector's voice thundered over the communications. Surrender. Now, or we will destroy you and accept whatever Varellan survivors remain. Kethnirel closed his eyes, and when he opened them, they held depths that seemed to contain stars. Captain Thorne, I have calculated 847,293 possible outcomes from this moment. In only one do both humanity and my people survive what comes next. Tell me. We must not run. We must not fight. We must show them what they truly fear. The ship groaned as tractor beams from multiple vessels locked onto their hull. What do they fear? Thorne asked. K.E. Nyril smiled, and for the first time it held genuine warmth. That we were never the broken ones. That we were always the teachers, waiting for students worthy of the lesson. The truth unveiled. Open all channels, Captain Thorne commanded. Every frequency, every network, full galactic broadcast. As the transmission activated, Kethnirel stepped forward, his form somehow more substantial than before. The other Varellans arranged themselves around him, their movements precise and purposeful. When he spoke, his words carried across space to every inhabited world in known civilization. People of the galaxy, his voice resonated with ancient authority, you have been deceived. Not by us, but by your own fear of truth. The enemy fleets hesitated, their commanders undoubtedly receiving frantic orders from homeworlds watching the unprecedented broadcast. We are the Varellans. 3,000 years ago, our species achieved perfect harmony between consciousness and quantum mechanics. We could see the flow of causality itself, predict the dance of probability across space and time. But with that gift came a terrible responsibility. Dr. Kane watched her instruments as Kethnirel's neural activity stabilized at levels that should have been impossible. He's not burning out, she whispered to Holloway. He's adapting. They all are. We saw the future of our galaxy, Kethnirel continued. Wars that would consume entire star systems. Species wiped from existence by fear and greed. The slow death of wonder as civilizations turned inward, building walls instead of bridges. Admiral Victor's image flickered onto the bridge screen, his reptilian features twisted with rage. Lies, you were broken, defeated. We have historical records. You have the records we allowed you to create, Kethnirel replied calmly. For a millennium, we hid our true nature, appearing weak and diminished, while quietly guiding events from the shadows, preventing the wars that would have destroyed you all. Commander Reeves checked her tactical display. Captain, the fleets are repositioning. They're not sure whether to attack or retreat. Every plague that mysteriously ended, Kethnirel's voice grew stronger. Every diplomatic solution that emerged from impossible situations, every technological breakthrough that came at precisely the right moment, we were there, unseen, helping you survive your own destructive impulses. Lieutenant Voss looked up from her console. Sir, I'm detecting massive power signatures from the Varellan homeworld. It's like ... like the entire planet is awakening. But our concealment came at great cost, Kethnirel acknowledged. We allowed ourselves to be seen as failures, as burdens. We endured your contempt, your cruelty, your experiments. We became refugees in our own galaxy to protect you from the truth. The holographic display shifted, showing not battle projections, but something far more profound: streams of data flowing between worlds. A vast network of consciousness spanning light years. The truth that we are not separate species competing for resources, Kethnirel said. We are components of something greater. A galactic mind capable of solving any problem, healing any wound, reaching any star. Dr. Kane's voice was filled with awe. They're not just predicting the future, they're showing us how to build it. But you can only join us as equals. Kethnarel's tone carried both invitation and warning, not as conquerors or masters. The network accepts only those who come in peace. Captain Thorne watched as the enemy fleets slowly began to withdraw. Not in defeat, but in something approaching wonder. Humanity showed us kindness when all others showed cruelty. Kethnarel turned to face Thorne directly. Captain Marcus Thorne, you and your crew will be remembered as the catalysts who ended the Age of Hiding. The quarantine bay dissolved into light as the Varellans shed their physical forms, becoming pure consciousness that flowed through the ship's systems like living music. The question now, Kethnarel's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere, is whether the galaxy is ready to grow up. As the Resolute drifted in space, surrounded by the stunned fleets of 3 empires, humanity found itself at the center of the greatest transformation in galactic history, and in the depths of space, ancient minds that had hidden for centuries began to sing again.